Hello, my friend. Today I want to take you to a country of stunning beaches, the tallest waterfall in the world, and streets filled with music. A place where the sun is warm, the mountains are high, and the people are full of life. From the outside, it looks like paradise. Tourists take photos of the colorful houses, eat delicious arepas, and say, "This is beautiful." But what they see is only one part of the story. Behind the music, behind the smiles, life is very different. It is a life of empty store shelves, a life where prices change every single day, a life where the lights can go out without warning and water stops running from the tap. Imagine waiting in line for hours to buy bread and going home with nothing. Imagine working all month only to earn enough for a bag of rice. Imagine living in a place so rich in beauty, yet so full of struggle. This is the daily life of many people in Venezuela. It is a story of hardship, but also of resilience, love, and hope. Read until the end. Only then will you see the full picture. The sun rises slowly over the towering Andes Mountains, painting the sky in soft shades of gold and orange. Down below, the streets begin to wake. Vendors roll out their carts. Fishermen return from the shore, and the smell of fresh arepas drifts into the morning air. Children chase each other along narrow streets, their laughter echoing between colorful houses with chipped paint. From this view, Venezuela could be a picture in a travel magazine, bright, lively, and full of promise. Tourists who arrive here see what they want to see. They snap photos of old plazas, eat sweet fried plantains in busy markets, and listen to street musicians playing lively salsa tunes. They post pictures online, writing captions about paradise and joy. And yes, the warmth is real, the smiles are real, and the beauty is undeniable. But for those who live here, the camera lens hides what happens when the music fades and the streets grow quiet. For many Venezuelans, each day starts with the same unanswered questions. What will we eat today? Will there be cooking oil in the store? Will the money we have be enough to buy bread? These thoughts appear before breakfast, before coffee, before the first step out the door. They are not rare worries, they are daily ones. The bright morning sun does not erase them, and the warm air does not make them lighter. Some say this is still a land of opportunity, that if you work hard enough, you can live well here. Others say opportunity is a ghost, something talked about, but never seen. Which is true? Perhaps both, depending on who you ask. This is why people argue, why they share different truths about the same streets, the same buildings, the same morning light. Some will tell you that life here is rich in culture and spirit. Others will tell you that spirit is all you have when everything else is scarce. Walk a little further from the tourist squares, and you will notice the rhythm of life is different. People walk quickly, eyes scanning the street corners, searching for signs of a delivery truck. Rumors spread fast. The bakery has flour today. The shop on the corner got rice. These small pieces of information are like gold, passed from neighbor to neighbor in hurried whispers. Some rush to join a line before the supplies run out. Others sigh, knowing they cannot leave work or home to stand in the heat. In fishing villages, mornings begin with the smell of salt water and the creak of wooden boats. The sea still offers fish, but fuel for the boats is expensive, and equipment is harder to replace. Families share the catch, keeping enough to eat, selling the rest at markets. The ocean is generous, but life on the shore is not easy. Sometimes the waves bring enough to fill the table, and sometimes they do not. In the cities, traffic wakes early too. Old buses rumble past, their metal sides dented, but still moving. Street vendors shout about their goods, mangoes, coffee, fried empanadas. People buy quickly, counting their coins carefully. For some, this will be the only hot food they have today. The bright colors of the fruit and the lively voices of the sellers paint a scene full of energy, yet beneath it is the quiet knowledge that everything here is a race against scarcity. From a distance, the morning in Venezuela is full of life, sounds, and smells that can make any visitor believe in the magic of the place. But for those who live here, it is also full of uncertainty. Every sunrise brings beauty, yes, but also the same questions that have no easy answers. And so, the debate continues. Is this a land of endless charm, or a land of endless struggle? Some believe it is both. Do you? Before the sun fully rises, the first people arrive at the supermarket entrance. Some bring stools to sit on. Others lean against the wall, wrapping themselves in jackets to block the morning chill. They know that every minute counts, that being early could mean the difference between having food and going home empty-handed. The air is quiet, filled only with soft conversations and the sound of plastic bags crinkling in the breeze. The line grows quickly. A mother holds her child's hand while scrolling through her phone, trying to distract herself from the long wait. An older man leans on his cane, shifting his weight slowly from one foot to the other. Some people have stood in this very line hundreds of times before. They talk about what they hope will be on the shelves today. Maybe rice, maybe oil, maybe something special like sugar or powdered milk. As the minutes pass, rumors begin to spread along the line. Someone whispers that a delivery truck arrived last night, loaded with flour and pasta. Another says it is only rice and beans. No one knows for sure, but every whisper builds both hope and tension. People glance toward the locked doors, wishing they could see inside, wondering if this will be one of the lucky days or another disappointment. When the supermarket finally opens, the line begins to shuffle forward. Some people walk quickly, almost running to the shelves, while others move slowly, scanning the aisles with careful eyes. There is no music playing, no cheerful background noise, only the sound of footsteps, baskets clattering, and quiet sighs. Those who came early reach for bags of flour, bottles of oil, or cartons of eggs. They hold them tightly, as if afraid someone might take them away. By the time the middle of the line enters, the shelves are already thinning. A woman reaches for the last bag of rice and clutches it to her chest, smiling with relief. Behind her, a man stares at the empty space where the rice once was, his shoulders sinking. There is nothing left for him. He turns away slowly, looking for anything else to buy, but most of the shelves are bare. Those who are lucky leave the store carrying their bags as if they were carrying gold. The weight of flour and beans feels heavier than it should, but it is the weight of certainty. At least for a few days, their family will eat. Outside, some compare what they bought, while others avoid eye contact with those who found nothing. It is a quiet, unspoken understanding. For those who leave empty-handed, the walk home feels longer. They pass the vendors selling fruit or bread at much higher prices. They know they cannot afford these luxuries, not today. Instead, they think about what is left at home. Maybe a little rice, maybe just coffee, maybe nothing at all. They wonder if tomorrow will be different. if tomorrow the shelves will be full again, though deep down they know the answer. Some people believe these shortages are the fault of outside forces, that the country is under pressure from beyond its borders. Others believe it is the result of years of poor decisions inside the country. Which side is right? That question alone could fill the line with arguments, yet most keep their opinions to themselves. In this place, the focus is survival first, politics second. But outside these lines, debates burn hot and voices rise. To a visitor, it might seem strange that flour and oil can feel like treasures. But here, these are the building blocks of daily life. Without them, meals are smaller, days are harder, and hope feels thinner. The supermarket line is more than just a queue for food. It is a symbol of waiting, of uncertainty, and of the quiet strength it takes to keep coming back. And so the question remains, is this simply a temporary hardship in an otherwise rich and beautiful land, or is it a sign of deeper problems that cannot be easily fixed? Some will say shortages happen everywhere and people adapt. Others will argue that no one should have to stand in line for hours for the basics of life. Which do you believe? In Venezuela, money does not hold its value like it once did. Prices can change from morning to afternoon, and what a worker earns in a week might feed a family for only a couple of days. People no longer trust that the cash in their hands will be worth the same tomorrow, so they spend quickly trying to turn bills into food before the value fades. It is a race against time, and the finish line moves every day. The bills themselves tell a story. They are bright with color, printed with images of national heroes, yet they feel almost weightless in power. People carry thick stacks of them in worn wallets, folded in rubber bands or stuffed into small bags. At the market, you might see someone counting 20, 30, 40 notes just to buy a loaf of bread. It takes longer to count the money than to choose what to buy. Some people are lucky enough to have U.S. dollars. They treat them carefully, slipping them into hidden pockets or keeping them in safe boxes at home. Dollars can buy more and hold their value, but not everyone can get them. Those without dollars depend on believers, knowing they must spend quickly or watch their buying power shrink. Every transaction is a calculation, every purchase a small gamble. For many families, survival depends on relatives living abroad. Brothers, sisters, or children send money from Colombia, Spain, the United States, wherever they have found work. These remittances are lifelines, arriving through bank transfers or carried back in cash by visiting relatives. Without them, some households would not be able to buy enough food, pay rent, or cover basic needs. But not every family has someone outside to help, and for them, the struggle is sharper. In the open-air markets, buying is often mixed with bartering. A farmer might trade a sack of bananas for a few bottles of cooking oil. A neighbor might swap fresh eggs for a packet of pasta. Coffee beans can become soap, and a handful of peppers might be exchanged for rice. This system is as old as humanity, yet here it has returned not out of tradition, but necessity. When money is unreliable, goods themselves become the currency. Every trade tells a small story of adaptation. A woman walks home with a plastic bag of beans, knowing they were once her spare bar of soap. A man feels relief holding a loaf of bread he got in exchange for the coffee he roasted himself. These exchanges are quiet victories, proof that people can find ways to survive even when the economy feels like it is crumbling beneath them. Some argue that this resilience is proof of the Venezuelan spirit, that people here know how to face hardship and still find a way. Others argue that no one should have to barter like this in a modern nation, that the very need for it is a sign of deep failure. Which view feels closer to the truth? The debate touches every conversation, yet answers are rarely simple. The markets themselves are full of life. Bright piles of fruit, the smell of grilled meat, the sound of sellers calling out their prices. But the beauty is layered over with uncertainty. You might see a woman stop mid-purchase, hearing the price go up before her eyes. You might see a man walk away from a stall shaking his head because the money in his pocket is no longer enough. Every smile is mixed with calculation, every laugh balanced by worry. For visitors, this way of living might seem strange, even impossible. They might ask how people manage when money changes value so fast, when bills feel like paper more than power. Yet for those who live here, it has become routine. They wake up knowing that today's money must be used today, that tomorrow's prices will be higher, that life is a constant adjustment. And so the question remains, is this a testament to the strength and resourcefulness of the people, or evidence of a broken system that forces them into constant survival mode? Some will say it shows the courage of Venezuelans. Others will say it should never be necessary in the first place. Which side do you believe? High-rises stretch across the city, their paint faded under long summers, their stairwells echoing footsteps at dawn. From balconies, laundry flutters like flags, and cooking smells drift outward, announcing another ordinary Venezuelan morning. Inside, apartments hold lives within small rooms, mismatched chairs gathered around tables. Fans hum over sleeping children, radios murmur weather and soccer, and curtains sway as neighbors greet each other across narrow hallways. In the countryside, houses crouch beside dusty roads, tin roofs glinting under noon light. Goats wander past blue doors, and gardens struggle in dry soil, yielding peppers, cassava, and a handful of tomatoes. Repair work is complicated by prices shifting overnight. Cement appears, vanishes, then returns costing more. Paint and wood are guests, and every decision delays progress, while cracks grow longer across ceilings and stairs. Power cuts arrive without warning. Lights blink, televisions fall silent, and refrigerators stop their hum. Heat swells through rooms, and families open windows, fanning themselves while watching sky for the storm that comes. During blackouts, families gather in one room, pulling chairs close and speaking softly. Children invent games with shadows. Grandparents tell stories, and everyone listens for the moment the fan starts spinning like rain returning. Water cuts shape routines. Faucets cough, then fall silent for hours or days, and people check tanks nervously. Buckets, bottles, and basins line bathrooms like soldiers, ready whenever the neighborhood pipes breathe again. When water returns, the building wakes at once. People rush to fill containers, then climb stairs carefully, spill by spill. Shoulders ache, but there is relief, because tomorrow the taps might whisper emptiness. Even with shortages, people create beauty. Tablecloths cover scratched wood, potted plants curl around windows, and family photos smile from walls. Handmade shelves balance books, and paper flowers brighten corners where sunlight visits. Outside, streets carry layered sounds. A vendor calls for customers. A radio plays salsa, dogs bark, children race. The city breathes, and despite frustrations, neighbors still share greetings that stitch the morning together. Elevators often stand broken. Elderly residents plan their day around stairs, resting on landings to steady breaths. Groceries become heavier with every floor climbed, yet pride keeps them moving, one step after another. At night, some stairwells are dim, bulbs missing or stolen. Families bolt doors, whispering reminders to be careful. Streetlights flicker, casting islands of light, and city listens to itself breathing, cautious but continuing. Some people call this resilience, talent to mend life with thread and patience. They admire painted walls, shared meals, and humor that survives darkness, saying beauty can bloom wherever hands keep working together. Others answer that adaptation is not enough, that dignity should not depend on candles, buckets, or bartering for paint. They insist reliable services are rights, not privileges, and anything less is unacceptable neglect. Visitors often photograph colorful facades, posting cheerful captions about charm. They rarely show the blackout hours or the buckets lined beneath leaky ceilings. A single frame cannot hold hardship and hospitality at once. For residents, walls carry memories like shelves carry books. Pencil marks track children's heights. Birthday banners return, and recipes are taped above stoves. Home becomes history, stitched together through repetition, patience, and love. When someone's roof leaks, neighbors bring plastic sheeting and spare nails. When generator fails, extension cords snake across hallways. Small solutions travel fast, and gratitude travels faster, making islands of relief inside seasons. During outages, meals become creativity lessons. Arepas cook on gas burners, salads stretch with mangoes, and coffee is shared in chip cups by candlelight. Hunger is kept away with planning, sharing, and improvisation. Ask 5 neighbors about causes, and you hear 5 different answers. Some blame international pressure, others blame corruption, others history, others ideology. Meanwhile, the fridge stays warm, and the bucket brigade keeps marching. Children learn the rhythms. They know when fill bottles, how to search stairwells with flashlights, when to cheer as electricity returns. Games include candle rules, laughter practicing courage while adults practice patience. When darkness settles, windows glow like squares across hillsides. Families finish chores early, phones dim to save battery, and conversations lengthen. Stories surface, and present feels stitched to grandparents' memories of nights past. Still, hope travels through hallways. Parents imagine repaired elevators, steady water pressure, and electric bills that match salaries. Children imagine bigger rooms, stronger roofs, and homework finished under bright light without rushing outages. Are these scenes proof of spirit or warnings written across concrete and wires? Some say perseverance builds nations. Others say perseverance without change becomes surrender. Which truth feels when you picture living here? Morning returns with errands. Someone checks the tank. Someone charges power banks. Someone sweeps dust blown through windows. The day begins, familiar and uncertain, repeating decisions that hold families together despite fragile systems. If you walked these stairwells, counted candles, and lifted buckets, would you call it resilience or injustice? Say you agree or disagree, and tell us why. Your story might change someone's mind today. Morning begins with the soft rhythm of small shoes against cracked sidewalks. Children carry worn backpacks, straps fraying, zippers catching halfway. Inside are dog-eared notebooks, short pencils, and sometimes a single shared textbook wrapped carefully to protect its fragile pages. The walk to school varies. Some children stroll through narrow streets with friends, sharing bread and laughter. Others ride overcrowded buses, sway in as they grip metal bars tightly, while the driver weaves past potholes and traffic fumes rise into the air. In rural areas, children cross dusty paths or muddy trails, waving to neighbors feeding goats and chickens. Some walk nearly an hour beneath the rising sun, shoes coated with dust, their eyes fixed on the distant school building. The classrooms they reach are simple. Wooden desks bear carved initials from students long gone. The paint on the walls peels and strips, and the chalkboard shows scratches from thousands of erased and rewritten lessons over the years. Supplies are scarce. A single piece of chalk may last a week if used sparingly. Paper is distributed carefully, and students write on both sides, filling every corner with words, numbers, and carefully drawn diagrams. Teachers arrive early, carrying their own pens, markers, or sheets of paper purchased with personal money. Their salaries are low, yet their dedication remains high, kept alive by the eager faces that greet them every morning. When the bell rings, lessons begin. Some students lean forward, eyes shining with curiosity, eager to learn. Others fight sleep, their minds heavy after working late alongside parents, selling goods or doing chores until long after dark. Outside, the playground fills with movement. Soccer balls made from tied plastic bags bounce across the dirt, skipping ropes slap the ground, and laughter echoes between the buildings like a bright, unstoppable wave of sound. Attendance is fragile. Some children miss days when bus fares rise beyond what their parents can afford. Others stay home during harvests, helping in fields to ensure the family has food for the coming weeks. Hunger is another quiet barrier. Empty stomachs make it hard to concentrate. Lunch may be little more than bread and sweetened water, eaten quickly in the shade before returning to lessons in the hot, stuffy classroom. Despite these hardships, learning is treated with pride. Homework is done even during blackouts, completed by candlelight or near an open window for light. Parents encourage every page, telling their children that education can open doors. Some see these classrooms as proof of hope, that even with few resources, the desire to learn can grow. Teachers are called heroes, students the seeds of a brighter and freer tomorrow. Others believe hope alone is not enough. They argue that children deserve more than broken desks and missing books, and that real opportunity comes only when education has the tools to match its promises. Visitors sometimes see only the bright uniforms and smiling faces. They take photos of children reading together, impressed by their determination. Yet behind each smile lies a story of sacrifice, patience, and quiet perseverance. Exams are taken on reused sheets of paper, with diagrams squeezed into small spaces. Still, when a student answers correctly, the joy in their expression is as bright as any modern, well-equipped classroom elsewhere. Afternoons bring the long walk home. Friends talk about lessons, share snacks if they have them, and wonder what awaits at home. Maybe dinner, maybe chores, maybe another trip to the market with their parents. Evenings are often busy. Homework must be done between fetching water, helping cook, or minding younger siblings. Pages are sometimes smudged with tired hands, but every word is written with determination and a belief in tomorrow. Ask what they dream of becoming, and answers pour out. Doctors, engineers, teachers, pilots, artists. Their ambitions stretch far beyond their neighborhood, even if for now their world feels small and tightly bound. Some say this ambition proves education's power, even in hard times. Others warn that without better opportunities, these dreams risk fading into frustration. Which do you believe when you picture these children in their classrooms? Night comes, and school bags are placed neatly by the door. Families hope buses will run, teachers will be there, and learning will continue. In a place of daily uncertainty, each day of school is an act of courage. Would you call this resilience or neglect? Are these children building their futures with the tools they have, or are they being denied what they deserve? Share your thoughts. Your words could inspire a powerful conversation. In the early morning, streets are already alive with movement. Shopkeepers lift metal shutters, dust shelves, and arrange their goods. Street vendors set up stalls, balancing crates of vegetables, fruit, or bread on tables and plastic tarps. A bus driver begins his day before the sun rises, navigating crowded streets filled with honking horns and impatient motorcycles. Fares are paid and worn bills counted twice, sometimes rounded down because passengers simply cannot spare more. At night, that same driver sits in a dimly lit corner of his home, repairing bicycles for neighbors. Grease stains his hands, and the sound of spinning wheels replaces the roar of his bus. A nurse at the local clinic greets patients with a gentle smile, even when medicines are scarce. When her shift ends, she hurries home to knead dough, baking bread to sell before the evening grows late. Teachers, mechanics, and clerks all search for extra income. Some sew clothes after dark, others make snacks to sell in busy plazas. Each extra sale is a small step toward covering the week's endless expenses. Those with relatives abroad often depend on money sent from far away. These remittances arrive through transfers or hand-delivered cash, becoming lifelines that help pay rent, buy food, or repair roofs before the rainy season. Yet many do not have such help. For them, survival means multiple jobs, long hours, and learning to stretch every believer until there is nothing left to stretch. Every decision becomes a careful calculation. Street markets tell the same story. A man pours steaming coffee from a dented thermos, a woman sells sweets wrapped in paper, and a shoemaker works under a faded umbrella, tapping nails into worn leather. Some believe these scenes are proof of Venezuelan resilience. Creativity and determination turned into survival. They see this as the beating heart of the nation, a force that keeps people moving forward despite hardship. Others say it should never be necessary to work 2 or 3 jobs just to afford rice, oil, and rent. They see these scenes not as resilience, but as a visible sign of failure. The hours stretch long. Many return home after dark, too tired for anything beyond a quick meal and sleep. Families speak quietly over dinner, conserving both food and energy for the next demanding day. In rural towns, farmers rise before dawn, walking to their fields with simple tools. Fertilizer is expensive, machinery is old, yet they work, knowing the harvest will be their only income for months. Work is found in quiet corners, too. A grandmother stitches school uniforms by hand, her fingers moving with practiced speed. A teenager repairs radios, and a father carves furniture from salvaged wood for weekend market sales. There is pride and skill, but exhaustion in the effort. People value their crafts but dream of stable jobs that can support a family without demanding endless side work to fill the gap. For some, leaving the country becomes the only answer. They travel to Colombia, Peru, Spain, or the United States, sending home what they can. Remittances arrive, but so does the emptiness of absence. Others choose to stay, saying that their presence matters, that their labor and persistence will keep the country alive. They speak of roots, of community, and of holding on until better days come. To a visitor, the activity in Venezuelan streets can look like prosperity. Markets bustle, voices fill the air, goods change hands. But beneath the surface is the constant uncertainty of whether tomorrow will bring enough. Migration itself divides opinion. Some call it abandonment, others call it survival. One person sees a family staying together despite hardship. Another sees the sacrifice of separation for the promise of financial stability. As night falls, markets close and stalls are packed away. Coins are counted under dim light, sometimes enough to pay bills, sometimes only enough for tomorrow's breakfast. Plans are made for the next long day. Tomorrow the cycle repeats. Early mornings, long hours, small victories. Whether this is proof of strength or a sign of desperation is for each person to decide. Which do you believe when you picture this life? The hospital stands tall against the skyline, but its walls are worn and faded from years of sun and rain. From outside it looks strong, yet inside each hallway tells a more fragile story. Doctors arrive before sunrise, slipping into white coats whose sleeves are frayed from years of use. Their hands are steady, their eyes alert, but their pockets carry more patience than medicine, more dedication than tools. Beds are arranged in neat rows, separated by curtains that sway when nurses pass. Families bring their own soap, sheets, and food, transforming sterile rooms into temporary homes stitched together with love and necessity. Some medicines are stocked, but many are absent. Relatives carry handwritten lists across the city, visiting one pharmacy after another, crossing out names of drugs that might decide the line between recovery and loss. In the waiting rooms, voices stay quiet. A mother holds her son's hand. A husband strokes his wife's hair. Hope and fear sit side by side, breathing the same tense, uncertain air. When supplies run low, connections matter. Those with the right contacts or enough money can secure what is needed. Others must wait longer, search harder, or face the unbearable choice of going without. Nurses move quickly between beds, checking pulses, adjusting pillows, and whispering encouragement. Their eyes betray exhaustion, but their pace does not slow. They work far past their shifts, knowing minutes can matter more than hours of rest. In operating rooms, skill often outpaces equipment. Surgeons improvise, repairing machines themselves, making old tools serve another month. Every successful operation feels like a victory against odds stacked high, a small defiance against scarcity. Families remain close, sleeping on benches or hallway floors, unwilling to leave loved ones unattended. They share food and blankets, forming quiet communities built on shared need, whispered stories, and the stubbornness to stay. Some see these scenes as proof of Venezuelan healthcare spirit, a system still alive because of the hearts of its workers. They see heroism in every hallway, hope in every nurse's step. Others argue that heroism should never replace resources. They say care without reliable equipment is fragile, and compassion alone cannot provide the dignity every patient deserves when medicine and tools are missing. For visitors, personal attention from doctors feels remarkable, but the reality that families bring soap, sheets, even syringes is shocking. It challenges the image of free health care, so often taken for granted elsewhere. Pharmacy lines mirror hospital corridors, slow and crowded. A bottle of antibiotics changes hands like treasure, its cost unreachable for some, yet holding the power to save a life if obtained in time. Sometimes blackouts strike, generators hum to life, casting emergency light across tense faces. In those seconds, everyone knows that a delay in power could mean far more than just inconvenience. Still, there are victories. Patients walk out smiling, their families embracing nurses with gratitude. Discharges are celebrated like holidays, proof that healing still happens here despite shortages, despite uncertainty, despite the fragility of the system. Others leave with grief instead of relief. The same doors that opened with hope can close in silence. The walls hold both kinds of stories, wins and losses, without choosing between them. In children's wards, crayons are dull, but laughter still echoes. Nurses decorate walls with handmade posters, turning cold spaces into warmer ones, proving that even here, joy can be found beside struggle. Ask those in the waiting room, and the answers differ. Some call the care a blessing, praising staff for their effort. Others speak only of the medicine they never found soon enough. Night falls, but the hospital stays awake. Windows glow like promises in the dark. Inside, nurses check vitals, change bandages, and keep hope alive, even when supplies and energy are running dangerously low. So, is this resilience or neglect? Is it proof of a system saved by compassion or a sign that compassion hides deeper failures? Which truth do you believe when you picture this place? In the streets, morning begins with a mix of movement and watchfulness. Food stalls open their shutters, serving steaming arepas filled with cheese or meat, while the smell of fresh coffee drifts between narrow sidewalks. Neighbors gather in doorways, leaning against chipped walls, greeting each other with smiles. Children chase a worn ball across dusty fields, their shouts rising above the hum of traffic and the distant rhythm of a passing radio. Vendors call out prices for fruit and vegetables, arranging plantains in neat piles, brushing flies from displays. A musician strums a quattro at the corner, his case open for coins, his voice steady and warm. Yet, beneath the liveliness, caution runs deep. Conversations about politics slow, voices drop, and eyes scan the surroundings. People speak only to those they know, measuring every word like it might weigh too much. Some claim this carefulness is just habit, a way of avoiding unnecessary trouble. Others believe it is fear, fear of saying the wrong thing to the wrong person at the wrong moment. News from beyond the country's borders arrives slowly. Social media carries videos and headlines when the internet works, but connections fail often, leaving long pauses where people wait for the screen to load. In those pauses, information travels by other means. A friend passes a USB drive containing articles, interviews, or documentaries. Files are shared hand to hand like messages in bottles tossed across a quiet sea. These exchanges are quiet, but not joyless. Friends gather in kitchens to watch a video on a laptop, leaning close to hear over the hum of the fridge, discussing each scene in low voices. Public conversations are safer when they stick to daily life, the price of coffee, the weather, the latest neighborhood gossip. But even these can carry hidden meanings for those who listen carefully. Sometimes, a friendly chat at a fruit stall can hide a dozen unspoken thoughts. A man asks the vendor about the price of mangoes, and she answers with a smile, adding quietly, "Cheaper than yesterday, for now." Her eyes flicker toward the other customers before she changes the subject to the weather. People learn this rhythm early, how to start a sentence, when to let it trail away, and when to fill the space with harmless talk. Even children can sense when their parents' voices grow softer, as if certain words are too heavy to carry in public. On some mornings, the streets feel like a stage where everyone knows their lines, and silence is just another part of the script. Some believe speaking freely is worth any risk, that truth must be shared regardless of the consequences. They talk openly, daring the air to carry their words wherever it may. Others choose silence, saying survival comes first. They argue that speaking loudly changes nothing except the number of people who know your opinion, and sometimes that is a dangerous number to grow. On certain evenings, gatherings feel more relaxed. A neighbor might bring out a speaker, salsa fills the street, and for a while, the music drowns out everything else, even the things left unsaid. But when the music fades and people return indoors, conversations shrink again. Windows close, doors lock, and the night air feels heavier as though it carries memories of things that can't be spoken. Internet blackouts can last hours or days, cutting off more than entertainment. Families lose contact with relatives abroad. Students miss lessons, and the silence between updates grows into something people feel in their bones. Some see this flow of guarded information as clever adaptation, proof of the community's ability to find ways around barriers. They admire the resourcefulness of USB drives passed hand to hand. Others see it as a dangerous sign, evidence that voices are being boxed in, reduced to whispers and shadows, hidden behind locked doors and encrypted messages sent in cautious bursts. Street life continues nonetheless. Arepas are eaten, soccer matches played, music shared. But the unspoken rules shape everything. People know when to talk, when to pause, and when to change the subject entirely. Children grow up watching this balance. They learn early how to answer questions in public, how to hide frustration behind a smile, and how to move between laughter and silence without drawing attention. Ask a neighbor if the streets are free, and the answer depends on the day, the hour, and the company. Freedom here is not fixed. It shifts like wind between buildings. Night comes, and the last stalls close. The smell of grilled meat fades, footsteps echo in quieter streets, and behind closed doors, words grow a little louder. Safe for now, but still cautious. So is this caution a sign of wisdom or fear? Is it resilience or proof that something precious has been lost? Which do you believe when you imagine living this way every day? On weekends, the mood changes as though the air itself decides to breathe differently. The sharp edges of the week soften, and streets carry scents of grilled meat, ripe mangoes, and fresh bread baking in small kitchens. Families sweep patios and hang strings of lights between walls, bulbs glowing softly as the sun begins its slow descent. Radios crackle alive, spilling the first drifting notes of salsa through narrow alleys and courtyards. Friends arrive carrying plastic bags or woven baskets, each containing something for the table. One brings ripe plantains, another a jar of homemade sauce, and someone else a loaf of bread baked earlier that morning. Even when wallets are thin, the table grows full. Every contribution matters. A neighbor's fruit, an aunt's beans, a cousin's coffee, creating a meal stitched together by generosity rather than abundance, a feast born from sharing. Before the music begins, there is a quiet joy in preparation. Someone peels garlic slowly, humming an old song. Another checks the small gas stove, making sure the flame will last long enough to finish the rice. Chairs are borrowed from neighbors, wiped clean, and placed in a wide circle so everyone can face one another. An older aunt sits by the window, watching the street while she shells beans into a large bowl. She remembers gatherings from her own childhood, when food was plenty, music was louder, and the nights seemed endless. She does not say this out loud, but the memory makes her stir the beans more gently, as if touching something fragile. For her, these nights are a thread connecting past and present, proof that even if life changes, the heart of celebration remains. Laughter comes before the first plate is served. Someone begins telling an old story, and the whole group leans in, waiting for the punchline that bursts into clapping, head-thrown-back laughter, and even a few playful shouts. Barefoot dancers move into the open space, hips swaying to the beat. Salsa turns to merengue, then to gaita, each rhythm weaving into the next without pause, the joy steady with every clap and turn. Plates of rice and beans pass from hand to hand. Meat is sliced in small but generous portions, and cups are refilled with sweet coffee or cold juice, whichever was poured last by the nearest host. Children race around the edges of the gathering, their feet dusty from the street. They chase each other through open doors, pausing only when offered a slice of mango or a piece of fried bread. The music grows louder as the night deepens. The week's burdens, long lines, shortages, exhausting work, fade into the background, replaced by the beat of drums and the sway of bodies moving in rhythm. Some say these moments are the truest form of wealth, proof that joy comes not from possessions, but from people. They believe no crisis can touch a heart surrounded by friends and family. Others argue that celebration in hardship is not a cure. Dancing away troubles for one night, they say, does not erase the problems waiting to return with the morning sun's first light. Stories flow between songs. One neighbor shares a recipe passed down from her grandmother. Another recalls harvesting coffee as a child in the countryside. These tales weave the past into the present, keeping traditions alive. The neighbor who brought fruit insists on cutting it for everyone. The one with coffee pours refills before filling his own cup. Generosity flows freely, as though abundance is measured in kindness rather than quantity. From balconies, more neighbors watch. Some join by sending down plates of cookies tied in cloth. Others clap in time with the music, their applause folding into the rhythm like another instrument in the night's orchestra. Overhead, the string lights sway gently in the warm breeze. Shadows stretch and twist across walls, moving in time with the dancers, marking the passage of songs as surely as any clock or calendar. Children begin to yawn, curling into a parent's lap or stretching out on chairs. The music slows, shifting to softer tunes that keep the last couples swaying beneath the light's gentle glow. Some see these weekends as acts of quiet resistance, proof that hardship cannot steal joy. They believe the gatherings themselves are statements, that life will always make room for music, no matter the struggle. Others say beauty should not distract from urgency. They argue that celebrations can sometimes act as escapes, delaying the changes needed to fix the very problems everyone works so hard to forget. When the final song fades, people linger in doorways. Goodbyes are drawn out, promises to meet again are repeated, and the warm hum of connection lingers even as the night air grows cooler. The street quiets at last, but the memory of the evening stays. The music may be gone, yet its echo drifts into the week ahead, a reminder that joy can still bloom in scarcity. So is this weekend dance in strength or denial? Is it resilience or an escape that delays action? Share your answer and see who agrees and who will argue the other side. When night falls, the city lights appear one by one, flickering against the dark like cautious promises. Street corners that buzzed hours ago now hum quietly, shadows stretching long between the dim pools of yellow light. The music that carried across balconies fades into silence, replaced by the rustle of leaves and the distant bark of a dog. Most people have gone inside, leaving the streets to the occasional passing car. Windows glow faintly in apartment blocks, each frame holding a different story. Some are filled with laughter from late-night conversations, others with silence broken only by the soft hum of an old ceiling fan. In those quiet rooms, dreams gather like whispered prayers. People imagine shelves stocked with food, money that holds its value, and roads that lead freely to anywhere without fear or restriction. For parents, the dreams sharpen into visions of children growing up without the need to leave. They see them working, studying, and building their futures in the same streets where they first learned to walk. Some hold on to memories of better years, using them as proof that change is possible. Others have only stories told by older relatives, yet they believe those days could return in their lifetime. Until that day arrives, life continues in the spaces between hope and necessity. People learn to stretch resources, to improvise solutions, and to see small victories as steps toward something bigger. A bag of flour bought without waiting in line becomes a celebration. A day without a power cut feels like a gift. Even a neighbor's smile can ease the weight of uncertainty. Some say this ability to find joy in small things is the greatest strength of the Venezuelan people. They believe it is proof that no hardship can crush the human spirit completely. Others argue that adapting too well can be dangerous. They say endurance without change risks becoming acceptance, and acceptance can keep broken systems in place far longer than they should remain. Still, each sunrise invites another day of trying. Parents wake children for school, shopkeepers unlock their doors, and workers set out on their commutes, carrying both the weight of the present and the hope of the future. In rural areas, the night sky bursts with stars untouched by city glare. Farmers watch them as they rest from the day's labor, thinking of the crops that will grow in coming months. In cities, the glow of street lamps is joined by the blue light of phone screens. Messages from relatives abroad arrive, carrying both comfort and a reminder of distance that is not easily closed. Some imagine a future where those relatives return, bringing stories, skills, and dreams back home. Others fear that each year abroad makes the chance of return a little smaller, like a candle slowly burning out. Even in stillness, resilience works quietly. A seamstress repairs clothes by lamplight, a student studies with borrowed books, a musician practices the same melody again and again, preparing for the day he can play it for a crowd. Neighbors keep watch for one another. A knock on the door at night might mean a delivery of bread, a borrowed tool, or simply a reminder that nobody faces the darkness entirely alone. Sometimes a knock at the door comes with more than bread or tools. It comes with small acts of kindness that carry far more weight than they seem. A neighbor might bring a slice of cake saved from a birthday, wrapped carefully so it arrives whole. A teenager might offer to carry water up the stairs for an elderly resident, smiling shyly as he sets the heavy buckets down. In these quiet exchanges, there is a language beyond words, one built on patience, trust, and the knowledge that one day the favor will be returned in some other form. As the hours stretch past midnight, the city settles into its deepest quiet. The hum of a refrigerator, the soft drip of a faucet, and the occasional passing motorcycle break the silence. Tomorrow will bring familiar challenges, lines to stand in, prices to calculate, news to process carefully. But it will also bring the chance for another laugh, another shared meal, another string of lights hung for a weekend gathering. So, is this quiet determination the foundation of a better future, or is it a dangerous comfort that delays necessary change? Share what you believe and see how others choose to answer.